and welcome back to BSI for an interview presented to you by Verizon. I'm here with the coach Song from DRX. 안녕하세요. Thank you so much for joining me. I want to talk about the jungle because you brought two players here at Worlds 2022. What is the process between deciding which jungle is going to play?
네, 우선 승리 정말 축하드립니다. 이번 월즈에는 정글러 두 분을 데리고 왔는데 출전을 결정하는 그런 과정에 대해서 좀 설명해 주실 수 있을까요?
그날의 뱀픽 구도랑 그 연습 과정에서의 그런 컨디션이나 준비 과정이 많이 포함되어 있고요. 두 선수 다 되게 잘하는 선수고 뭐 자세한 그런 뭐 차이점이나 그런 거를 말씀드리긴 어렵지만 이제 서로 경쟁하면서 서로 준비 과정에서 잘하는 그런 모습에 따라서 언제든지 기용될 수 있는 선수라고 생각합니다. 네.
So it will come down to the draft we prepared and also their kind of form and performance in scrims. And also I believe those two players are just so talented and they can, whenever they are ready and good enough, you know, they are ready to just play on stage. So I think this kind of competition also kind of helped them also perform better. So I think it just depends on how they performed in scrims and also what kind of draft you want to take.
I see some nice synergy between all the players here at DRX. And I also want to talk about the mid lane. He's one of the rising stars in the LCK, I believe. How do you think he's been doing so far? And what can we expect from him facing the other mid laners at Worlds?
그럼 이번엔 미드라이너에 대해서 여쭤보고 싶습니다. 제카 선수는 사실 이미 LCK에서부터 많은 관심을 받고 거의 라이징 스타로 자리 잡은 그런 선수였는데요. 지금 월즈 와서 활약하고 있는 그런 모습을 볼 때 앞으로도 다른 미드라이너들과 상대했을 때 어떤 모습이 좀 기대가 되나요?
너무나 할 말이 많죠. 되게 잠재력도 너무 많고 무엇보다도 자신감이나 약간 담력이 되게 강한 선수여서 어떤 선수든 강한 선수를 만날수록 더 잘해질 여지가 많고 좀 아쉬운 점은 아칼리가 당연히 밴드일 줄 알았는데 아칼리가 밴드에서 다른 좋은 퍼포먼스를 보여줄 수 있는 챔피언을 보여줄 기회가 왔으면 좋겠습니다. 네.
So I mean, he has great potential. You know, he's also always so brave and so bold. He never gets scared. So I'm really excited to see what he can do against like greater players. And also, I'm kind of bummed that people didn't actually ban his Akali because we really wanted to show what he can do on other picks too.
All eyes on Zeka here at Worlds 2022, but also all eyes on DRX here at in the playing stage, because you guys are 3-0 right now. Does this match the expectations you had here coming in at Worlds, and how do you think the team performed so far?
네, 지금 정말 초유의 관심이 지금 DRX에 있습니다. 왜냐하면 지금 3전 전승을 달성했고 경기력이 매우 좋은데 지금 개인적으로는 DRX 팀의 경기력 어떻게 생각하고 계신가요?
현재까지 순조롭게 잘 되고 있다고 생각하고 플레인도 강한 상대들도 많이 있지만 그래도 저희가 그룹 스테이지에서 더 잘할 수 있을 만한 그런 기초를 다지는데 주력하고 있고 그런 프로세스가 잘 되고 있어서 매우 기쁩니다. 네.
So yeah, it's been pretty smooth, and I hope this whole process of playing in the plains is like a stepping stone for us to perform well in the group stage. So I think it's going pretty well. So I'm really happy.
No doubt, it's just a warm-up for DRX. 감사합니다 for the interview. Jason, thank you so much also for the translation. And Dash, back to you.
I'm terrified if it's only been warm-ups up to this point for DRX. Welcome back to Worlds 2022. We got Isurus Gaming facing an elimination game here in our final game of the day. They've got quite the opponent to answer to in DRX. Great to get a word from Coach Song about the team, their synergy, and a couple of the players specifically talking about what determines how they decide between the two junglers, of course, and then a highlight on their star mid laner and what he's been able to show us so far here in the group stage of play-ins.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think he's also right? They've looked good. It's been a warm-up, but the fact that they can use like Pyosik or Juhan has been insane. But these stats are actually even more insane. Coming in, I mean, even people from the LCK weren't super hyped for DRX. Like, they're in play-ins, they were always gonna make it out, but the fact that they have been this dominant and having played teams like RNG is mind-blowing.
Yeah, got to make sure they take care of business in this one because the big matchup, I think, in their minds will be against Mad tomorrow. But the player that was asked about at the end of that interview, Zeka, he has been actually completely unreal. We have some of his stats here.
The team stats are good. These stats are almost better.
40 KDA. So, I mean, you die again, that goes in half.
True.
But currently, that's really damn high. I'm curious how high he can get it if he continues to be this dominant.
Yeah, we've had a few players globally in seasons past, you know, move towards those triple digits or even have triple digits for a game or two at a time. But wow, look at this.
Second highest DPM.
And it's crazy because, right, he actually started his career over in the LPL, so I got to cast him for 2 years, and he was a player that you always knew was going to be exciting. He's actually always had the Akali. He's always had the LeBlanc. Started his career under Coma, which, you know, is a pretty nice way to start out back on Vici. And it's so nice to see he's kept up form on DRX and is still able to be this huge playmaker. But I feel like he's another player who, at Worlds so far, has just completely smashed expectations.
Well, and in talking about that warm-up for DRX, I think this is the kind of player, when you hear from Coach Song, who can really actually benefit from a warm-up on the international stage, saying that, you know, he loves how bold and brave that this kid can play. But I think sometimes if you were to immediately insert yourself into the group stage or the main stage, go up against maybe even tougher competition, if you get smacked down early, you might begin to immediately walk back some of that confidence. So in a way, like JoJo's another example of a player that I actually like having that time to marinate on the international stage and actually build up that confidence.
Yeah, and I think he was joking about the Akali thing, but also like not joking.
But not,
Not joking.
Yeah, because I kind of feel like that's also a champion that when they do go up against more elite mid laners, it won't get a lane advantage, and the other lanes are going to have to play the early game without pressure, which can be really bad. But against these teams, it just looks awesome all
right, so
the
he's like,
time.
so just Baron against us.
Well, kind of.
Yeah,
He's going to be like, but coach,
Guys,
I got 25 Soul Stealer stacks.
guys, he spends all year playing against Chovy and Faker. He spent 2 years playing against Scout, Knight.
Yeah.
So this is a guy who...
He's been forged in the fires.
Exactly, right? So coming into the draft for the first time, great for him to start and play as he get the warm-up, but yeah, he's definitely seen battle before.
Yeah, and while we've talked a little bit about the stakes for ISG, it is just an elimination match in terms of, you know, being in, or rather staying in contention for the knockout stages. For DRX, stakes are still high because they want to keep that separation. Again, you want that 1 seed over RNG, so you just want to keep putting up clean, easy wins. Don't give anyone that opportunity for some kind of funky tiebreak scenario, some 3-way tiebreak scenario going into tomorrow.
Yeah, and also the fans trying to give as much support as possible for Isurus, knowing that if they lose this game, even though they will be able to play a game tomorrow, it won't matter in terms of the standings. Top 4 are what get to continue playing on into Monday and Tuesday once we hit that knockout
3 of the
stage.
5 players on that roster come from Mexico City, playing in Mexico City. This is it. You've got to take that energy that the crowd is throwing your direction. You got to internalize it, metabolize it, and use it for your own good.
And I feel like one thing we know to expect from them right away with that energy is the shenanigans, right? We had the Zillion.
So Timo,
we had the Timo.
somewhere.
Exactly. So, I mean, we'll see if DRX are ready for whatever kind of curveball Isurus is going to throw at them.
Okay, if there's a curveball, I'm not asking you to tell me what exactly the curveball itself is, but maybe
Jab might know.
Jab might know, to be honest. He had the keys to victory earlier. Did we make a similar graphic for ISG here? No, like, what lane would you want to see the curveball in? I'll just ask it in that way as opposed to, like, I want to see a Timo pick specifically. Is there a player you feel like needs to do it or a lane that you feel like needs to be, you know, kind of thrown at DRX?
I actually banned the Akali. Would be one.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
that's fine. And then if there's some way you can attack Deft a lot early because he's just been so incredibly solid, if you can actually get a lead on him, that's your best chance. But I mean, like, that's kind of just like saying make all of your 3-pointers.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
It's advice that can't be followed.
I mean, it's valid advice nonetheless, I guess, if you do. No, but I mean, that's why, again, like, we're not trying to, you know, or move us away from what is probably a 90-10 at best, you know, opportunity here for Isurus Gaming. But again, for them, they've been charged with their coaches, their coaching staff has been charged with building that game plan backstage. You know, from last night to today, they've got to have something.
The 10s are possible as well, right? I mean, we see upsets in like regular seasons of regional leagues all the time. So looking towards that bot lane to keep Deft down.
Looking to make it happen, looking to do it in front of the hometown crowd, looking to keep their knockout stage hopes alive. We're back over to Quick Shot and Mark Z one more time to close out the day.
Thank you very much, guys. I liked Jazz's advice about, you know, just really bad advice in the overly genericized sense where he's like, yeah, just make all your three-pointers.
I was trying to ask, what does that mean? I don't know what basketball is. I'm South African. Cricket and rugby are my sports. You don't know what those are.
Just always hit the ball is basically what he's saying. Just don't miss.
Just always hit the ball. Okay, actually, as both cricket and rugby, that is very appropriate.
I don't exactly know any of the rules. Those are the weird sports to me,
Yeah,
you know,
those-
as an American.
To you, excuse me?
As an American, those are the weird things. I just love that kind of advice. Like, if you want to be a millionaire, just make $1 million.
Isurus Gaming, as an Argentinian esports organization, is a rugby country, and they are one of the world's best countries at rugby. They would know what I'm talking about. They right now have to play university. We're going to focus on our sport, and the Akali is banned. That is another thing that I believe the analyst desk was saying they wanted as well.
Yeah, there it is, gone off the table. Getting rid of the Graves. The Ornn, surprisingly, against ADD, they did play that a fair amount. It's most played this year by a mile.
Significant, more than double. 14 games of Ornn, 7 games of Null.
Yeah, so understandable that they want to get that one off the table. The Maokai priority continues to rise. Aatrox's priority has risen to ban status, at least in this game.
You know what I love? Do you know what I love? In the previous game, the Maokai was not the difference maker for Wildcats against RNG. Reddit armchair analysts in shambles. We get to see it again this time around.
Hey, it ain't so,
Isurus
quick shot.
against DRX.
The Garen hover by Kingen right
like
after
that.
the previous Garen game. Last second swap to Sejuani, giving a shout out there to the boys. Not gonna go for it though.
A lot of respect.
Cowards.
I do want to mention just again that Isurus Gaming, the way in which they lost their Teemo game earlier to RNG is heartbreaking. This is the second game of the day for them, and it's against DRX. You could not have had a more difficult day for any team in play-ins than what Isurus is having right now. And yes, they do have a hometown crowd in front of them, but one could argue that adds even more pressure to have those players in their home city.
Yeah, they were showing family before. Seiya's family, for example, was on broadcast yesterday a little bit. The team all over themselves from Grell. DRX obviously taking the game very seriously still. They want to find these wins. We were talking a lot about Group B stakes, all the situations that can break out. So they are, you know, sticking with tried and true right now. MF, one of the strongest. AD carry, Sejuani as well. Aphelios coming in. Love to see it.
What do you think about it into the MF thus far? Seiya, if he locks in the Azir, I mean, this is now fairly clear in my eyes. Don't lose early, which means you cannot concede the early deaths you did against RNG. And there is a lot of scaling on this side already.
Yeah, they're kind of flipping the script completely. Last time they tried a bunch of cheesy solo lane picks and trying to flip the game early. Did not work out in their favor. Here they're going the other way, taking some of the most stable, strongest scaling matchups that they can. No surprise to see. Oh, actually, that is a surprise. It's a Yone coming in.
Okay, so Yone secured here. I'm taking a quick look through history. As far as I can see on Zeka, no games played this year. Taking a look at the top lane as well. Yeah, I actually cannot see Yone for anyone in DRX this year.
No, but I assume it's a Zeka champion just because a lot of people talk about how strong he is on melee champions. We saw his Akali, absolutely disgusting. I presume he has a Yasuo, has a Yone, has all these things that he can play if needed.
How many professional games does Zeka have on Yone?
On Yone? 1.
Do you think he won it?
No.
My word, what an analyst, Mark.
I like how you're shaking your head and holding fingers up.
Don't spoil the magic.
That's what I do. If I was a magician, I'd be the guy revealing all the tricks on YouTube.
The Penn and Teller.
Selfishly.
Penn and Teller's bullshit. Here we go.
Yeah.
Presented by Mark Zimmerman, breaking it down. Look, the only reason I love to look historically, not only is there no games played this year, the only games Zeka played, he did lose. This is not the expectation of, like, I'm not trying to be facetious in terms of this. It's just a fun fact to look back at. What I am nervous about is Yone is one of those champions that is an accelerator. MF is very, very good in the early stages of the game as well. So for a team like Isurus that needs time, that wants to not get bullied, beaten up, and like chased, the composition DRX will bring together can get in their face.
It absolutely can, especially combined with the Sejuani. Assuming that they find another, they will probably save counter pick for top lane, but I presume it's probably going to be a melee matchup given that you already have Sejuani. And so you're going to have these double melee solo lanes for them to use, stack up those Sejuani stacks, get a lot of chain ganks and skirmishes around the top side. And Yone himself, a strong matchup into the Azir. Once you get a couple levels, you can just kind of pop your W, dash at him, trade the autos, pop back, and usually come out ahead.
And again, the two bans here in phase 2 with Amumu and TK, two of the sort of primary, sort of arguably best supports. With Aphelios, two champions that will buy you time, will give you the ability to disengage and back away.
Reposition you if
Box,
you did.
flay, exactly. All of the tools that Isurus would have needed to get to that 2-3 item mark. They will be locking in this Viego, so expecting Viego jungle. Do you go Maokai support? Am I reading this wrong? What do you think?
I assume that means the Maokai is support. Could still be top lane as well. Maokai, Viego in lane, probably not the case, but it could be. We have seen Maokai top once this tournament, I believe, so far already. I think we saw one support, one whole bunch of jungles. But, you know, I think that this is a little surprising to see the Viego in this situation, just because I feel like Viego is at his best in kind of messy game states where you're trying to come flying in. There's a lot of kills, a lot of souls to steal, and that is not really in line with the Isurus draft so far. And that was kind of actually my biggest complaint previously about their other draft. While it was very crazy with the Scion mid and stuff, it just felt like there was not something for the Scion mid to explicitly do, because Teemo often wants to be isolated in the lane, building this kind of minefield around him. Sometimes the Isurus drafts leave me wondering exactly what angle they're trying to take.
Now, talk about the DRX draft. They've rounded it out with that Sylas to finish the composition. A lot of fantastic ultimates to steal for Kingen up in that top lane. But again, it's champions that go forward, the champions that can absolutely take over before Azir and Aphelios will get a chance.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing about Sylas too is he's, like we said, kind of a scaling champion, and his biggest weakness, and the reason that oftentimes people wait to kind of pick it, not all the case as its priority has risen in this tournament, but historically you would often wait to see what you're playing into, because his lane phase can be a little weak. You can get bullied a little bit. Maokai, probably not the strongest lane phase still, even with the changes that came in, and so I think this is a matchup where Kingen's very happy to take the Sylas up there, scale, go even, and then you have a ton of amazing ultimates to take. Sylas top, haven't seen it yet this tournament. He's potentially going to be one of the champions for the most flexed. Right now, I think it's Maokai with 3.
We'll have to find out. I've actually just asked about the Maokai positions and their win-loss. I'll give you an update on that as soon as I get it. Top jungle support, we know that. 80% win rate across all of them. I'll clarify the exact numbers in just a little bit, just for my own gratification. But I do want to check in now. Do you prefer one of the particular drafts to the other? I do feel like Isurus's comp can do well, but I'm anxious about whether or not they'll have the control to fend off Sylas, Yone, Sej, and Amumu, you know, jumping in their faces.
It's very difficult. They do have some peel options. We talked about the counter engage available from the Maokai. We have the shuffle for Azir. You can try and push all this melee dive off you, but they will have to weather the storm early on. The mid lane matchup, the Sejuani, even top, probably going to be able to scrap quite well against the Maokai. It'll be a tough order for Isurus to pick up their wins. I believe the scores are backwards in the scoreboard right now.
I am extremely confident that is the case.
I've been following this tournament a little bit, Trevor.
I have too. I was following MSI too, but I forgot that we had Garrett top there.
That's true.
This one, however,
can't guarantee my mind, even if I have
one,
the
however,
the event.
I am confident in. I love the way, by the way, that Beryl is just waiting in the river. Also, I'll just have one very brief aside. It's not on tone, so do forgive me. But every time I hear Beryl, I just think of an old British grandmother drinking tea. The name, the word, it just makes me think of
I think of Genshin Impact.
Okay, I don't know that game, so we'll have to slide on because Beryl, Pyosik, and Deft are stepping forward. Won't be able to find any of the CC. Then we'll find on the second bandage toss, but this is enough to push Grell away from red buff. Jelly comes forward. It is still secured by Pyosik, and he gets the flash from Grell. Grell is now caught in place. A third bandage toss is thrown. 150, 10, first blood to Grandma Beryl, and DRX walk away.
Beryl is bloodthirsty in the jungle. He missed his first bandage toss. I see what Grell, you know, wanted to go back in, try and get that smite, but committing his flash fort into Sejuani and Amumu is a death sentence. And as soon as he does not get the level 2 from it, his bot lane was collapsing, but was still not close enough to really do anything about it. Just gets chased down, dies, loses red buff, doesn't have any experience yet completed. Going up to the top side to start his clear. This is not the start his team needed.
If there is one thing I will take away from it, during the draft, if I recall correctly, Mark, you said, Viego, you kind of like Viego and games are going to be a bit scrappier, a bit more chaotic. We started off exactly that way. Can Grell turn it around? We'll have to find out.
Yeah, I don't think dying
that
level
was not
one
the intention.
is...
That was not the intention.
Yeah, here I was a little surprised to see Beryl just throw that Vanish shot out immediately. I thought he was going to maybe take a second to line it up as we see some skirmishing on the picture-in-picture. Here, he lands the second one just to be like, look, I can land this.
And the next one as well, I believe.
Yeah, this flash forward, though, is just such a strange commitment to me because even if you get that, you're still 2v1 here, stacking them up. There's that third Vanish toss coming through, like you said. Grell just, I don't know, having a tough go of things today.
Definitely not going to heaven at the start of this game. Pyosik has got that flash available to him. Gavotto and Jelly going to step out. They're not in lane either. I will give you those Maokai numbers just because I want to, but of the 10 games that we've seen him, 1-0 in the top lane, 1-0 in support, 6-2 when it comes to jungle. So an undefeated Maokai top record. Seiya will get a good amount of damage to Zeka in that mid lane. Jelly hanging about in the bottom. The crowd is electric. They are very, very excitable. Obviously, for the hometown players, Grell will find the route, the engage, headbutt, pulverize, down to 150. Zeka's burning, but I don't think he'll die. Grell takes a couple turret shots, so swing and a miss from Isurus.
Yeah, I like the idea there, getting the stun on him, but I think Grell needs to commit a little bit more damage. Otherwise, it was just a low-level Azir poking away. Obviously, Alistar's not bringing quite enough damage, and so Zeka's able to get out of there just fine. Staying around now, actually, to catch this big wave that's coming into him.
Yeah, right now, DRX 500 up, Beryl's roaming as well. Deft has just finished the recall, and Jelly will just go for that headbutt to get Beryl away. Turn our attention to the top lane. Chains land onto ADD. Currently down 6 CS, got a significant minion wave in front of him. So one can assume that Kingen has been playing the trade game or trying to bully. He'll try to catch up those numbers just a little bit. Did the cannon go down? I didn't quite see if he picked it up.
I wasn't watching.
Yeah, I think that might have been a -1. I think chat will know for sure.
Chat is always on top of him. I've never not seen chat say it.
yeah.
Even when you get it sometimes, chat's a little over-eager.
Yeah, 1 or 2 people will type it, and then you know, as chat likes to do.
So where I was going to go with that is I was rewatching the bot side situation because Deft got zoned away from the wave for a little bit, as well as Beryl getting that kill meant he was slow to get back there, and they were down levels, and that's why they had gotten shoved in on a little bit. They tried to find that angle to get some first blood. You can see Gavotto, level 4, trying to pressure. I appreciate the Isurus Gaming's bot lane trying to salvage all these situations, playing aggressively after the invade went bad.
Oh, that's
this
a
might be too aggressive.
Pyosik's right here, Pyosik's right here. Bandage toss will find the target. Defensive flash away from Gavotto. Cleanse is available to him and just used. Here comes Grell. A 2-man knocker from the pulverize will not be enough to save Gavotto's life. And Jelly down to 200, 100. Below that, and Deft secures the kill. Another 2 for DRX. The timing on that Hex Flash could not have been more unlucky.
Yeah, just no vision to know that Pyosik was coming into the river right then. They find that kill. Obviously, Deft popping off now, 1-0-1. Beryl, 2-0-1, getting all those kills on the Amumu in this game. Very quickly going south for Isurus yet again.
This is where I do get frustrated a touch with the champions that Isurus have put together with that small advantage they had over Deft momentarily. Did they need to go for that Hex Flash engage on the bottom? Could they have pushed that way forward? You know, you have a composition that wants time and items and levels. You're also behind in kills. They will be able to secure a dragon. This is good. This is cheeky. But the point I want to get at is, I understand you are playing for your tournament life. I understand you want to win it, earn it on your merits. But patience is a skill that could have been rewarded in that bottom five.
It's definitely a situation where Isurus' mentality of aggression not necessarily matching their draft, as we see a nice poke back there, but Zeka getting the reset, going all the way back. It just feels like they want to play this really aggressive, fast-paced game, but have drafted a fair amount of scaling and stability for more of a front-to-back team fight setting, and that is being betrayed a little bit by how they're choosing to approach this game.
And I mean, this is one of those moments again where there's a phrase that I think I've even described it like chasing the loss, right? Where you are chasing, you're trying to set something up, you're trying to put yourself in a position to either claw back the deficit, but ultimately it puts you further behind, you know, because of that mentality and that mindset. The double down, I like that. What I will acknowledge though is that Isurus, despite being down 1,500, there have been quite a few moments, glimpses here that have looked respectable to good, right? Like the bottom lane advantage that was secured, the engages onto Zeka. There's a minor CS lead in that top lane. It is still a gargantuan, monumental task to climb up, but considering where Isurus were at 8 minutes against RNG, this is looking better.
It's not quite as bad. 2,000 gold down, but your solo lanes both, like you said, farming well, not actually behind the pace of the game. I think Seiya was just up there with the second most currently in the game. So doing okay, but the problem is the spillover that's going to happen. Obviously, Zeka can get first move quite often, hover down this bot side. Gavotto and Jelly needing to stay safe under their turret. The turret plays have not really started coming in yet for the side of DRX, but you have to imagine they'll start grabbing those soon. Especially if they target this Rift Herald, they should easily be able to control that one.
I mean, a reminder what the analyst desk was saying for Isurus. If they lose this game, they're eliminated from playoffs. They will be playing the Wildcats tomorrow for their 5th and final game. Also, from the perspective of DRX, secure first tower in every single one of the games they've played. Either they are second or first in almost every statistical category when it comes to goal difference, experience, first towers. I think they get first dragons in second, 80-odd% of the games. And the engage will come in. That's a kill onto Grell. Jelly gets caught out by the bandage toss. Beryl lined up the first, he lined up the second. No access to that sad mummy, and those chakrams are flying slowly back to Gavotto, but DRX, they get their kill, they extend that gold lead a little further. I think it's the control that they are exerting is great, but kudos again to Seiya. Popped off, he got that Akali. Correction. Yeah, I've got the wrong player in my head in the moment. Seiya, this time around, has been able to have a couple of good kills here onto Zeka, or good plays onto Zeka, but it hasn't netted an advantage.
Yeah, getting the flash out of Zeka feels pretty good, not needing to commit his own, especially on the tail end of Grell dropping again. There does not look like a very fair combination.
Beryl this time around, bandage tosses forward, uses that stopwatch, buys some time, forced to flash for his life, didn't have the damage onto Gavotto, who instantly cleansed and walked away. We are descending, Mark, into a little bit of chaotic, skirmish-heavy game. And Grell hasn't yet been able to show his impact.
No, not quite yet. Has shown up for a couple lanes, trying to make things happen, hasn't gotten it done quite yet. DRX looking very good, 4 kills. Pyosik coming back in. I'm very curious exactly the decision-making process right now between him and Juhan. Pyosik in the playoff run was struggling. They made the swap to Juhan. That's what they used for the entirety of the Live Sandbox series that they won. He looked substantially better. No shade, just that Pyosik was struggling. And then they started using him in the first game. Pyosik wins against RNG. Everyone's like, whoa, he's back. Yeah. Then it was just Juhan again. Now it's back to Pyosik. I wonder if they're just trying to keep both in form based off of how they're playing on the day in a best of 5. If they want to make that swap, you do want to make them feel comfortable playing on the world stage already. I can see that mentality of we're both going to give relatively equal amount of play through the play-ins and group stage, assuming that they move on. So that way, in knockout, they're both ready to go.
And theoretically, like arguably as well, some small advantages to hiding how an individual player plays an individual champion to some degree, as well as allowing that jungler to pay attention, watch closely some of their opponents. Not 100% certain whether DRX are going to win this group, but you anticipate it to be the case. That is going to be the kill secured on behalf of ADD, taking down Beryl, now at the cost of Grell's life. Jelly's going to be the target for Zeka, secures the kill. 2 members of Isurus are down. Pyosik's trying to prevent the blast going, but he can't do it just yet. 100 HP as ADD's forced to flash for his life. Now Gavotto's the next target. Flash available to him. He gets underneath his inner turret. Won't be able to find enough damage for the kill. Here comes Zeka. Soul Unbound will not be able to get the damage back underneath the tower. Not going to be able to find the root, and Zeka gets out. DRX push in deep. They've maintained that 3,000 gold lead and 6 kills to 1.
6 kills to 1. Isurus did pick up their first one onto Beryl there, but not the critical target for them to lock down. I think they want to insta-give him before he get his ultimate off here. So you see Jelly going to channel this Hex Flash, get right on top of him, I believe is going to get a knock-up. And then they try to get Seiya's ultimate on top as well. This like 100-0 combo, but Beryl critically is able to get his ult off there. I believe that's his ult that he got. Maybe not actually, not the case. I think I got trolled by Sejuani ultimate looking similar to me. But the fact that you're killing Beryl is not the critical target necessarily, so you have Deft free hitting from the entire time on the backside. You don't really even have Kingen there. You have, of course, Zeka popping off damage as well, so cute idea, did not end up working out.
I'm gonna have this moment where I'm actually now pissed off at Isurus Gaming for putting Seiya on Sion earlier in the day. His Azir has looked significantly better than the impact he had on Sion. And when I look at all of the champions that Seiya has played this year, Azir is his most. Orianna, LeBlanc, Sylas, Lissandra, all the champions with agency in play. you're seeing him at least set things up and play well. Ultimately, it's not netting Isurus the advantages they want. I think every time we look at that minimap, DRX are pushing into the jungle of Isurus, they're pushing deep wards, there's a lot of roaming. This has been a very mobile game so far.
So the funny thing is, when I was watching Seiya's play and following some of the community conversation in LATAM about him a little bit, is that I saw shades of that kind of what I call Bjergsen syndrome, where you're oftentimes the best player on your team, you pick these kinds of scaling things that are going to be very powerful, but that don't necessarily have a ton of agency. And then you see he's gonna live here again.
Does for now. Grell steps forward. Zeka's low.
Yeah, nothing gonna come out in the tail end of this play. So Seiya's in the situation where he plays very well, doesn't make a ton of mistakes, but also not the most risky player. And so sometimes people feel he has low game impact despite being oftentimes the best player on some of his teams. And then when you put him on situations like a Scion to try and have really big impact, that doesn't speak to a lot of his strengths.
Yeah, unfortunately, and this time round, the margining behind Seiya is +20 in favor of Zeka. The kill secured onto Gavotto. This is trying to turn this one around. Emperor's Divide is on cooldown. The re-engage from Zeka finds it. Jelly's got no unbreakable will available to him, so he drops to 3 members secured. Zeka's going to step backwards. That Fate unsealed on cooldown as well. The tower's being focused, the plates are being focused, and in what is, 3-4 minutes, it's gone from 2,000 gold to nearly 6,000. Actually, just over 6,000.
Turret plates just dropped it right before they got that charge off. Unlucky for DRX there, but still another skirmish going heavily in their favor. The fact that they got Seiya's ultimate out in the mid lane prior on that dive where he had to save himself with it meant that when he went flying in to cover that play, he did not have it available. Beryl also had a nicely timed ult right as Seiya started shuffling in to find that kill. Here, ADD getting a little aggressive. He's actually going to win this.
Get it! The healing from Sylas put him right back in. Zeka's chasing, hunting, kill the bird, and he does for the solo in this middle lane.
Off the reset, Zeka TP's back in, finds the solo kill with the extra influx of gold, up to 5-0-1 now. This is why people are praising his melee champions. He can absolutely take over the game. Took a little bit to get rolling on the Azir matchup, but now that he's ahead, he's cracked his mid lane turret. He's up 30 CS. He is dominating.
And such a great play. Mark, I'm going to ask you an easy, quick stat question, because you know I love them. How many Elder Dragons have been killed at play-in so far?
0.
Good job, boss. How many Cloud Dragons have been killed at Worlds so far?
Gavotto apparently got solo killed?
Yes, he did. There we go. Double up. Dunk, dunk. Get dunked. That was happening while we were watching this fight. Yeah.
Very scrappy game. There's that ultimate by Beryl I was talking about right as Seiya came flying in, locked him up so he couldn't get any auto attacks in with the soldiers that he was following. Allowed Zeka to get in there and start finding those kills as well.
I'm not leaning you away from my quick stats quiz. How many
look, there's another solo kill. We gotta talk about this one. Hey, now look, Zeka's gonna die for that too.
He will die indeed,
We need to talk about this. We need to talk about this.
6,500 gold up. They were able to secure themselves one of those Cloud Drakes, which is why I've been trying to get you to predict it. DRX going to look for another tower. They've got 3. 2 in the middle lane, 1 in the bottom lane, looking to take another. This will be the 4th secured. I'll tell you what, I'll ask one quick set question, and then I'm going to let it go and move on. Which dragon is the most killed at Worlds?
It's got to be Hextech.
You are correct.
Okay.
Do you want to hazard a guess at how many?
There's probably a way I could sit here and think about how many spawn a game, how many Hextech rips I've seen.
Just throw a number at me.
25.
Man, 22. That's actually a really good guess. So 22, it is the most killed dragon. Anyone that's watching my quick stat seconds knows I love dragon stats. Completely irrelevant, not very useful, but hey, it is a lot of fun. Isurus Gaming are not having any fun right now.
They killed Zeka. That might have been a little bit of fun.
To 2. And as it stands, look at that gold graph. ADD, the only member doing well, 130 CS. He's got 2 of the kills secured. Part of the reason why. But DRX now, they've just put their foot in the gas, and now they are looking, securing more and more kills.
Yeah, there was nice trades in lane that looked like as well for the Maokai into the Sylas. We did talk about how the fact that Sylas is not really a counter pick that you lock into slam lane. You pick it into lanes that you can survive and then utilize the insane ratios that he has, like we talked about, the hijacking of ultimates. Not too much of a surprise to see Kingen getting through that lane phase without dying. Actually up CS, he's actually been very good, had some pressure as well on the top side. But been pretty isolated from an 11-kill game, no kill participation. Another one of these greedy top laners.
Yeah, I mean, just sitting there. Or lazy, maybe, you know? Lazy's a better one. Just sticking there,
what?
not getting involved.
It's like, if I think my team's going to win anyways,
yes,
I'm just gonna chill up here.
That's it. See what I mean? I think it's pure laziness. That's how I would interpret it. Please don't clip that. As DRX now continue to just extend
LEC
this
caster
lead.
calls top lane of DRX lazy.
As it stands, Isurus now in a very, very difficult situation. They do have scaling. They do have some team fight on the cards, but it is going to be such a difficult task to bring this back, and they have to do this to keep the hopes alive, because if they lose this game, they're eliminated. They have one last chance to pick up a win in front of the home crowd for at least some of those Mexican players.
Will be very difficult, like
Yes.
that 3 out of 5
Yes.
from Mexico City, but I like to play this game with like magic number of like what in my head is what this comp can acceptably be behind in order to still be in a decent
Right.
spot. You know, when they have those bots showing win
How long
probabilities.
until the window is closed on coming back in some way?
Yeah, just like when do you drop below, you know, like a 50% win probability based off how the game
Got
is
it.
going and that kind of thing. And for me, it would have been like maybe 2.5K, around 15 for this comp. The fact that you're down.
So we are more than 300% above that estimated number at this time at 7.5.
And I would say that they are probably at about 10%. That is supposed to be skill agnostic as well. When you're just talking strictly comps,
Yeah,
champions
champion
in the
versus
game.
champion, if executed to, you know, the way their intention. Zeka
Yeah.
does get jumped on right now, stays alive, soul unbound, gets him to safety inside the pit. The shield has popped up, and ADD joins the fray. The Nature's Grass is thrown down. Kingen re-engages, finds the chains, the lockdown, the hold. Curse of the Sad Mummy still available. Curse of the Sad Bullet Time still available. Waiting for it to be fired out. Nobody's died just yet. Pyosik's the next target. 1-for-1. Gavotto flashes in for that, but it's a double for Deft. Can he dunk anymore? 1-2 more secured for DRX, and Gavotto's running for his life.
Isurus Gaming try to contest the second Rift Herald. They actually have a decent start to that fight, kiting out the ultimate from Kingen when he was Alistar'd up, waited for that to time out, then tried to find that re-engage. But like we said, so much gold behind. If you could get to that
Yes!
fight at the gold differences we were
Yes!
just talking about, yes, you can maybe win that fight.
You are in my head, Mark, because
I don't like it.
I go back to the Hex Flash engage from earlier, that little bit of impatience that puts them a little further behind. Now, not the only reason, but again, here's that great fight once more.
Yeah, the fact that they go in, they have Zeka low early on in the fight, so he can't quite dominate it the way he wants to. Kingen goes in there, he's like, I got my Alistar ult, I can buy space for this. You know, Isurus reset the fight, they kite it out, ADD providing frontline to make sure that Seiya is safe, and now, obviously, DRX wants to finish off the Rift Herald, but that keeps him around, so you get this flash re-engage here. And you might have been able to win this fight if you just had more items completed, that you were a little closer in goal, but Beryl stalls this fight out nicely with the flash re-engage. Gavotto gets that one kill here. I think there's miscommunication between him and Seiya. Seiya wants to go flash, engage Deft, and push him towards Gavotto for Gavotto to kill, but he had already backed out.
Yeah, Gavotto 1-4-2. He's just been jumped on so often this game. 10,000 gold difference. And I want to make it very clear so I don't get misinterpreted here, is that I think Isurus were always like such heavy underdogs. DRX really could have played the game in many different ways. You almost always see them coming out on top. Because I think Grell actually got that blue buff, by the way. But the point I want to get to is that team fight was a glimpse of excellence, a glimpse of what they could do. Unfortunately, they were down nearly 8,000 gold. And with Gavotto being down, DRX are just looking to secure this Baron. I mean, Nature's Grasp was thrown for the lols, doesn't get followed up. There's no AD carry. They really want the damage for Aphelios. And with that Baron buff now, DRX can continue to play. They can even look to play the side lanes. And there's going to be a setup. The bullet time is firing over Seiya. Forced to flash to safety. Stays alive thanks to the heal for now. And actually escapes. But for how long?
The bounce!
Double up! Deft manages to make it work. The hijacked Nature's Grasp does more than what ADD could do in the pit. And DRX are looking to shut the coffin on ISG's Worlds.
DRX respond to the play in the mid lane from Isurus. Beryl again with the quick ultimate, locking up Seiya for the bullet time, and from there was an easy chase down, finding all those kills, dropping Shelly in the mid lane with Baron. Trevor, I'm smelling a dancing Herald.
No ways, no ways, no ways! Will the Rift Herald dance? Charge is coming in, 3,000. Shelly and Gavotto stepping forward. Shelly
Protect
is
Shelly!
running low, 1,000, 700,
Don't do it, Grell!
400.
Don't you-
Shelly
Oh!
dies! Shelly dies! So do the playoff hopes for Isurus. DRX are hunting, picking up sharks where they can. Kingen is trying to keep Deft up as well, stepping for the Nexus, is being focused by Beryl. The Sad Mummy head-butting away, as all of a sudden, that's a Deft going golden thanks to the Hourglass. Baron-empowered minions doing work. Another for Kingen. At this point, it's bully dying. They're dead already as Isurus Gaming are eliminated from playoffs. DRX pick up the win.
DRX speed run that final game of the day here. 22.5 minutes, just about 22:41. That might be the new fastest game of World so far. I believe Loud held the previous record.
I'm gonna go on record. I believe that is the fastest game of World's play-ins. Great catch, Mark.
There we go. DRX move up to 4-0, looking absolutely dominant here. Setting up a very highly anticipated matchup against Mad Lions tomorrow.
And of course, for Isurus Gaming, one last matchup against the Wildcats. The only two teams sitting at 0-4. One of them will pick up that win. That team fight at Baron, a glimpse of how the comp could have played out. And for DRX, as soon as they smelled blood in the water, they went for it.
Blood. The
You get it?
Hey, there was blood in the water, level
Such
1,
a
man.
smart guy.
Yeah,
Such
at
a
that
smart.
red buff, Grell getting angry, it felt
Flashing
like,
for that.
over getting invaded.
Flashing for that red as well.
Yeah.
Sending a message.
Unfortunately, DRX were able to punish that. Never really not controlling the game. There were a couple opportunities for Isurus, but not able to put one together.
One would
Complete
assume
game.
DRX, the favorites to pick up that win against Mad Lions tomorrow. That will put them at 5-0. And then assuming Saigon lose to RNG, with 5-0, 4-1, 3-2, 2-3, the 1 through 4 will be clearly locked. Only tiebreakers on the side. Now, can Mad Lions do it? It's possible. It's unlikely, but it is possible. That would give us tiebreakers.
Why don't you believe in Mad Lions?
I think it's possible.
What are the reasons Mad Lions
Have
will
you
not
seen
beat?
DRX? I don't have time to list them. What I will say,
trying to get you to flame
just
your own
quickly-
region.
Just quickly before, I have a lot of lists, but we do have a
Okay.
show to do. That was some of the hardest games that we've had to cast, and as an analyst, some of those picks were tough. Great job, dude.
Hey, you too, man. Thanks for carrying me.
Thank you very much. No, it's the other way around. Despite how fired up you've been about Dragons, Mark, it's time to hand over the State Farm Analyst Desk for cooldown. Thank you. I didn't know I was getting written a joke. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much, Quick Shot.
Still talking.
I don't know about you, gents, though. I kind of want to hear the list. Should we send
Yeah.
it back and get the whole list?
Why
I want the list.
You know what? No, just kidding. Welcome back here to close out the day. Back with Jat and Lyric off of an incredibly dominant victory there for DRX. The fastest of the tournament so far. Exactly what we asked to see, exactly what we wanted to see for the team that has impressed and is the only remaining undefeated team here in play-ins.
Yeah, and I feel like we expected it even before going into draft, and we have Isurus coming in, going scaling. You look, DRX a bunch of flavor with the Yone.
That
and
Yone pick, man, I love it.
They made it work. They just smashed through starting from the early game. And then, heck, I don't even need to say the smash through. You just said it was the fastest game of Worlds.
Yeah, it was a smash from start to finish, but that's exactly what we expected to see, one way or the other, right? It was about Isurus pulling out all the stops, throwing something at DRX. They decided to index into hang on, really, is kind of what that strategy screams to me, is like, hang on, and let's look to outplay them in the late game and team fight, but DRX wasn't going to let them get there.
Yeah, and I don't want to double back on my own advice.
Okay.
Because I've said, like, oh yeah, you have to try, like, early game crazy stuff to take a team down, but, like, within reason. Not flashing into two people in hopes of getting the smite steal. Maybe he escapes if he's level 2, but it is a Sejuani Amumu, and you know he has bandage toss, so there's going to be chain CC, and you're going to make sure you're flashless. Based on how close it was, maybe he gets away, but like that, to me, already kind of doomed the game, and therefore knocks them out. Not that they had a huge window to win either way, but I don't think that's the force. That's not the bet you want to make when you're trying to all in.
I also think it just shows, right, like, they're coming into this. They know they're in a desperate position, like, nerves are there. There's so many things going through their minds, rightfully so, especially we've kind of hammered it home about them being the hometown heroes. So I think understandable for a lot of these mistakes to show through from Isurus, and kind of unfortunate that your deciding game is up against a team that has looked by far the best in play-ins.
Yeah, it's a tough straw to draw here as the last game of the day. Still one more to play for Isurus tomorrow, where they can hopefully pick up a win on home soil, but unfortunately eliminated from contention for the knockout portion of this play-in stage. In fact, to a degree, our groups are moving towards a decision. We're going to talk about it in just a moment. I'm getting a sneak peek of it here out of the corner of my eye. Group B looking a little bit more decided than Group A, again, in part because this DRX squad looks so good and has yet to drop a game. It has helped solidify at least the top 4 apart from the top 6.
Only undefeated team left in play-in is DRX.
And going back to day one of like Mighty Your 90-50-10s of...
Yeah, you said undefeated RNG.
Yeah.
And I said DRX doesn't make it to the group stage of Worlds, and both of those are going to be absolutely incorrect. We have who is this?
He's returning as Jojo Pune.
Oh, he's returning.
Yeah,
Okay,
to his rightful place on top of the fridge.
with a new birthday hat, though. I appreciate it. I like how day to day he's getting a new hat. It was the 01 NA versus EU hat. Now it's a happy birthday hat for
Gremlin
JoJo.
Mark just carrying JoJo around the studio.
You know, have a nice night, Mark. Get some rest. We'll catch you later. All right, thanks, buddy. Let's take a look at those updated standings that I told you were coming just around the corner. You'll also get a quick preview of tomorrow's schedule. Only 6 regularly scheduled matchups for tomorrow, but it's these 2 groups that are doing battle for the final 4 slots out of each of them. As you can see on the left-hand side, the Chiefs already eliminated from contention, but the other 5 still remain. For the side of Group B, we know what our top 4 is in terms of the 4 teams that will be there. DRX, Mad Lions, Royal Never Give Up, and Saigon Buffalo. But the seeding can still very much be determined with a couple of results tomorrow. And so let's first remember how we got to this position with our games from today. I think this was an interesting day itself because, again, when we looked at it schedule-wise and talked about things going to chalk, we definitely did not end up in the same situation as what was hypothesized.
Well, we definitely started with the bang with Loud beating Fnatic. This is from the Saigon versus Mad game, which was Elyoya really running through a lot of this game. They had a nice heal composition with Seraphine, Swain, Hecarim. They've ran Seraphine, Hecarim, Gnar twice now in the 4 games already, so finding a level of comfort with that champion composition. What do we got here?
You gotta tell me, Jay, your eyes are much better than mine.
We got DFM versus
Beyond Game.
This was definitely one of the games that was harder to predict. Definitely could have gone either way, but
I think Beyond.
Oh, this was the Evie Lilia game.
Exactly.
Though.
Right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Great early game, but then once we got to the team fights, Evie on the Lilia having the sick outplays. Vex, I mean, the fact that DFM are making that work is crazy to me. And once again, the bot lane having an insane performance, and that really seemed like the thing that's tipped things into their favor.
Chiefs versus EG here. This was one of the 2 Chiefs games that they had to play. Really odd stacked against them in this one, but I think EG just played a very solid game. They had a really high damage team composition, good front line, and Inspired got to show off why he won MVP.
Yeah, we had called out wanting to see Arthur on that Lee Sin, was able to get the pick, but it just seems like EG had too easy a time kind of suffocating out any opportunities for Chiefs in that one. We go from there to RNG.
It's a big set.
Yeah.
Giant set.
I mean, great to see Ming getting to pick up all the kills as well. With LPL, we're always so sad, you know, having to put people like Gala and Shahu. This man never gets the MVPs he deserves. And now, you know, coming in, gets a bunch of the kills. And I mean, this was the most dominant win RNG have had so far.
The classic
7-kill set.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Second most kills in the game for that set. Gala on his classic Kai'Sa as well. Interesting to me, too, that they show the Syndra, because that's just not a pick that anyone's talking about, and it's, okay, great, we can still play it. Xiaohu literally can play anything.
Yeah, I don't know if it's actually good anymore, but what I do know is if they win Worlds, he can pick it as a skin.
Ooh, that's true. Now he can. He got to get one game on
his
it.
career on. It's what he was known for back in the day.
Maybe that's why he did it, in all honesty. Get it out of the way early. Then if they run the table, become the first 4th seed of the LPL to make it all the way to the World Finals and take it, and you can have that skin. From there, we jump ahead.
Beyond Gaming Chiefs, which, again, this is what kept Beyond Gaming's hopes
back
alive in Group A.
Right, very much, still alive.
Wombo combo.
In that regard, sitting at 2-2 now. Another set game here.
Yeah,
Curious to see how that pick shapes the meta. That's something that's appeared a little bit more recently.
Right? It's one of those things, like we said, as we near closer and closer to groups, then when we get there, could be a lot of things that we haven't seen yet or things that grow in priority that, you know, some of the stronger teams who probably are in their own scrim bubbles have played that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, Maokai definitely getting a lot of looks, but as we also mentioned today, taking its first couple losses. And so again, like, how do people evaluate the picks and the counters that are coming out in response to some of those high priority picks? And so while we kind of reflect on the day, did want to break out a couple of very specific highlights.
So I realized they didn't have the Loud Fnatic game in the day recap.
Because?
But it's because the producer was like, Jat, what was your favorite moment of the day? And I was like, well, it's got to be the Loud Fnatic game when Fnatic lost to Loud.
Right.
So now we're seeing it here.
So boom, here it is.
Happy surprise.
You're welcome.
And we saw, right, Brance, the young 18-year-old, the rookie on Loud, his first split, coming out and honestly just decimating Fnatic in the bot side.
That was actually so unlucky for Fnatic because Razork didn't think he needed to smite for health, also didn't want to smite to give the free Scuttle Crab over. Then the Scuttle Crab disappears before he has a chance to heal.
Yeah, but therefore heads up play on the other side. 2 have smote, 4 health, keep the Maokai alive, extended that fight long enough to make it. And then this right here, highlight of the day for me, absolutely is the personality coming out of Brance.
And it makes sense why he was always in the right place for Misfortune Ultimate because he was just looking so far ahead all day, right? He knew that he was going to be in the right position.
He wrote that with permanent marker on his bicep.
That's a tattoo.
Yeah.
It's never going away.
Again, just the spunk coming out from the Brazilian squads, always coming to Worlds. Feels like they're always some of the most confident players that we get, and I absolutely love it.
They've made things very interesting here in Group A, this Loud squad has, and as you mentioned, they have an army of fans behind them in that region. And so I don't see any signs of them slowing down unless somebody makes them in their group. Somebody is going to have to smack them down to try and make them, second guess or take a pause. Because right now they look like they're on fire, and it looks like they're all very, very, very happy with how they've been performing so far. And so while that was your favorite moment of the day, I wanted to highlight one other tiny mechanic. And this was also pointed out on Twitter, so if you've been paying attention on Twitter all day, you may have seen it. But Tally of the Chiefs in the game against EG had a big brain play. Let's go ahead and roll it. And what you're going to see here is a little bit of a fight. A skirmish breaks out in the top lane. JoJo on one side, Tally on the other. Tally will actually go down first. But as Leandris is ticking, and while he's dead, check his inventory. Right there, he just turned his components into the Hextech alternator. It procs immediately upon purchase because the Leandris is ticking, does the extra amount of damage to kill JoJo. He gets the return kill in the 1v1 as a result of some quick thinking.
They might not have got the win, but just that in itself is a huge W in my mind for Tally and Chiefs.
That is a super slick play. You love to see it. Those kinds of things, while it wasn't the difference maker in that game specifically, we have seen international games turn on a dime. Things like a mid lane team fight that turns a 10K gold lead around, an Ash arrow from bot lane to an inhib, right? Like there are little minor things that can really make the difference, and that's what we like to see here on the world stage. But with 1 day left of groups here in play-ins, Jat, the focus becomes about what will our bracket look like for each of these groups as they make their way towards the main stage. So we're sending Jat back over to the Telestrator one more time to kind of break down a couple different scenarios of what could take place tomorrow in both of our groups with the scheduled games.
Yeah, so preview to tomorrow, we'll have Group A playing their 3 games and then Group B playing their 3 games. First off, we'll figure out, okay, who can finish first? Well, if EG and Fnatic both win, right, then they would both be 4-1, and they actually will play a tiebreaker against each other. Fnatic would have side selection because they won the head-to-head, but that's not the crazy situation. The crazy situation here is actually if Beyond beats Fnatic, if Loud beats Chiefs, and if DFM beats EG. Because, follow along for me here, we would have a 5-way tie.
That's a lot of 3 and 2s.
We would have a 5-way tie.
So 5-way tie, how does that work?
I had to look it up. I pulled up the rule set on my phone, and I'm 90% sure that's how it works.
There will be a clarification tweet if Jack gets this wrong.
It says the team with the lowest average win time would be granted the first seed in the bracket. So let's just put them over here. But then the actual slowest.
That's a 5 and a 3.
I'm starting this.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So first, the actual slowest would probably play second, right? They would play.
I would imagine.
And
Yep.
then
3 would play 4.
Right? The winners of those games would play, and the winner of that game would then play the team that actually had the fastest victory time. So winning fast has actually been, if this happens, a super, super important thing. And producers are telling me to guess who has the fastest average win time so far. I want you to guess this as well.
So it's only win time, which is what you have to remember. So I'm feeling like Loud.
I honestly
Or no, actually, EG's wins
I kinda
were
wanna say
decently
Beyond.
fast.
No, but EG had that.
so
that
Lyric
false
says
They had the
Beyond.
one they had to come back where they almost
Loud.
lost it to last.
Yeah,
You're
what-
right,
what
you're
was
right,
your
you're right.
guess?
I'm going Beyond.
Well, that's why I'm tempted to say loud.
Okay, Dash is saying loud.
I'm gonna say loud.
And I'm guessing as well. I'm gonna guess it's Fnatic.
Okay.
What's the call?
All right, what's the call? It's
It's
loud.
loud.
Oh, wow.
Wins.
Let's go. Now, of course, that has to hold true
They
through
would have
tomorrow.
to win, but they're against Chiefs, the winless team.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's definitely. Oh my goodness.
Of course,
If,
like-
that's the fight. It requires the full five-way.
EG both
It's
have to
realistic.
lose.
I think it's a realistic scenario from what we've seen in
It's
Group A.
definitely realistic. Do I think it is the highest
likely?
probability? No, but it's definitely realistic. And it is interesting that in that case, I do think Loud has the best chance of bettering their win
Yeah.
time, and so could be automatically the first seed out of
Yeah.
Group A as a result.
That'll be
Now
crazy.
we're going to hop on over to Group B, though. As we know, these are the 4 teams that are already into the bracket stage
Yeah.
of
Yes.
play-ins, and so it's a little different here, but break it down
so
for us, Jat. What can
obviously
happen?
these games don't matter in terms of Group B because they're all Group A games.
Yeah.
This game also doesn't matter because both those teams are already, quote, eliminated from
Gotcha.
finals.
So they don't change the standings for
I mean,
anyone else.
the very simple thing is like this game is basically all important. DRX versus Mad. If
Yep.
DRX wins, they're just first, straight up.
If
What will
Mad
get
wins, they
interesting-
earn a tiebreak.
Well, get a little interesting. Let's say DRX wins anyway.
Okay.
But then Saigon wins.
Oh, then you got a
have-
three-way tie.
You have 5-0, and then you'd have a 3-way tie at 3-2.
Okay.
Which is the same type of seeding where the team that has won the fastest gets the first seed.
Right.
And then the third and second play, and then winner plays.
Other option is to have a
Yeah.
3-way tie at 4-1, though, right? 'Cause
Correct.
If you have
Yeah.
Mad win plus RNG win.
Yeah, if RNG wins, Mad wins, and DRX loses because Mad had won the game.
That would be an
play
interesting
the same
one as
three-way
well.
Tiebreaker, which is resolved in 2 games.
Okay, so
that's-
but in that case, who has the highest or the fastest win win time?
Yeah.
In that 4-1.
Oh,
Oh, producer didn't look it up.
Was not
didn't have the
thinking
foresight.
that far ahead.
Okay.
I feel like
Yeah.
DRX is a
Yeah.
safe
Guessing
Yeah.
DRX, and
Yeah.
that's probably
the
probably a
official
safe
answer
bet.
from the producer is he's guessing DRX.
Well, especially
So-
because they just had the fastest game of
Yeah,
of the
okay.
tournament
RNG had
just
some fast
now.
ones, though.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
gonna
right.
say
Aren't
not Mad.
Yeah, it would have been. It's probably not Mad. You are correct
Yeah.
because they've also had some back and forth games. We'll look it up. We'll relay that information to you as soon as the show starts tomorrow, and we'll walk back through a number of these scenarios. But for now, we're going to shut this studio down after 8 games of play. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you two for joining me all day on the
Thank
desk. Get
you.
some rest today. You're casting tomorrow, right?
Yep.
What about you? You
Tiebreakers.
casting tomorrow? You got the day off.
You guys have a good day tomorrow. I'll be watching.
And it is DRX. We've already checked it. So we've got the answer before we go. On behalf of myself, the casters, the entire World's broadcast crew, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for more of our World's action. Until then, stay healthy, stay safe, be good to each other. Good night and happy birthday, JoJo.
Happy 18th.
Don't do a shoey out of Crocs.
Barely get away with the double kill. Now they're doing it, man. Croc is low, but he is not out, and this might be an ace on the table. Out of the Brazilians, crowd's going insane, and they should be. Full time over the top is good. Jabbing is there on the Kaiser, but they can't get the kill just yet. Hasbin trying to complete the play. They found Niski in the midst of it all, and Saigon Buffalo found a pick out of nowhere. Unipon, though, making it happen, took out the enemy AD, taking over the fight. That nation focused me. They found the angle in the fight, and Effie's still alive. That's going to be an ace at the end of the day.
The birthday boy gets the most ganks, that's how it works. True. From any team.
But Jojo trying to make the big play, a great flash out of Raze, but the setup's still there. There's nothing you can do. They only needed one. EG gonna pick up their 3rd win here at Worlds.
Scout of the week, collateral damage. Grell's running for his life, burns to death. He is once again solo killed by Breeze Aatrox. And he continues to hammer away on Isurus. 1, 2, 3 members dead.
Let's go. Here we go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Do it. Do it. Do it.
Yes. Well done.
Tally might just get whacked in the river. As Wacko's now continue to chase him down. Means he's going low, 3 and 4 HP left. Aladark stays alive. 1, 2 more members. 3 are falling. Caught out. The hijacked solar flare blinds the Aussies and sends them to the fountain. Hold your breath, Wildcats. Farfetch has got himself at least 1 kill. Ferret is so incredibly low. He'll root down and hold down Glade. But the entire team is not there. For the Wildcats,
Seren.
double kill for Seren. Connects with another. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's about to fall. Seren gets popped from long-range ignite. The ace in front of the Nexus, waiting for it to be fired out. Nobody's died just yet. Pyosik's the next target. 1 for 1. Gavotto flashes in for that, but it's a double for Deft. Can he dunk anymore? 1, 2 more secured for DRX.
I'm smelling a dancing Herald.
No ways, no
Yes!
ways, no ways! Will the Rift Herald dance? Charge is coming in, 3,000. Shelly and Gavotto stepping forward. Shelly
Protect
is
Shelly!
running low, 1,000, 700,
Don't do it, Grell!
400.
Don't you-
Shelly
Oh!
dies! Shelly dies! So do the playoff hopes for Isurus. DRX are hunting, hunting, hunting.